Your car feels slower than before, the engine struggles, and fuel consumption keeps increasing. You press the accelerator, but the response feels delayed, almost like something is holding it back. And most people think it's just an old engine problem, but the real issue is often hidden. When you take it to a mechanic, they usually suggest expensive repairs or even replacing parts completely. And the cost can go from a few hundred to thousands of dollars depending on the damage. But what if the problem is not that serious? Because in many cases, the real issue is not a broken part. It's simply a clogged system caused by buildup over time. And surprisingly, this can be fixed without replacing anything. This is where a simple, low-cost liquid comes into play. A solution that costs almost nothing but can make a noticeable difference. And yet, most drivers have never even heard of it. The problem usually starts inside something called a catalytic converter, a small but important component responsible for controlling exhaust flow and emissions. And when it gets blocked, everything starts going wrong. This part helps your engine breathe properly by allowing gases to flow out smoothly. But when it becomes clogged, the airflow gets restricted, and your engine starts to struggle. That's when you notice reduced power, slower acceleration, and poor fuel efficiency. Your car feels heavy, and no matter how hard you push, it just doesn't respond the way it should. And over time, the condition only gets worse. More buildup forms, more blockage happens, and the performance keeps dropping gradually. But here's the important part. In many situations, the converter is not damaged. It's just dirty and blocked. And if it's only blocked, then it can actually be cleaned instead of being replaced completely. That's where this simple liquid solution becomes useful. It's designed to break down carbon deposits and clear the buildup inside the system. These carbon deposits form slowly from fuel combustion over time, and they stick inside the exhaust system. As the buildup increases, the airflow becomes restricted, and your engine loses efficiency. But when the liquid flows through, it starts dissolving these deposits, little by little restoring the flow. And this process doesn't require any tools. No mechanical work, no opening parts. Everything happens internally. All you have to do is add the liquid to your fuel tank and let the engine do the rest. As you drive, the liquid travels through the fuel system and reaches the clogged areas. And slowly, it begins cleaning the internal buildup, restoring proper airflow. Over time, you may start noticing smoother performance, better response, and improved efficiency. But here's something interesting. If the solution is so simple, why don't more people know about it? But here's where things get interesting. If the solution is so simple and so cheap, why don't most people talk about it? Why is it not something you hear every day? Because most drivers only learn what they are told, and what they are told usually involves expensive repairs. When a part looks dirty or clogged, the common advice is simple. Replace it completely, instead of trying to restore it. But replacing parts costs money, and that's where most people end up spending more than necessary. While simple solutions like this don't get much attention, even though they can solve the problem in many cases. But once you understand how the system works, you start thinking differently. You stop jumping to expensive fixes and start looking for smarter ones. And that's exactly what this method is. A smarter approach, based on cleaning instead of replacing, when the problem is only buildup. Of course, this won't fix a completely damaged converter, but in many cases, it can restore performance significantly. And that's why understanding the difference between damage and buildup can save you a lot of money and unnecessary stress. Because not every problem needs a big solution. Sometimes a small fix is enough. And once the buildup starts clearing, your engine begins to breathe again, and the difference becomes noticeable, even while driving. The acceleration feels smoother, the response becomes quicker, and the engine runs more efficiently, without extra strain. You may also notice better fuel efficiency over time, because the engine no longer has to work harder to push exhaust out. And that means less fuel consumption, less stress on the engine, and better overall performance. All from a simple step that most people completely ignore because they don't know it even exists. So, next time your car feels slow or your engine struggles, don't immediately assume it's a major problem. Take a step back, understand what's really happening, and look for simple solutions first before spending money. Because sometimes what looks like a serious issue is just a buildup waiting to be cleaned. And once you fix that, everything starts working smoothly again, without replacing expensive parts or wasting money. So before you spend money on repairs, remember this simple idea. Sometimes the cheapest solution is actually the smartest one.